What is up, everybody? My name is Chris Murphy, and with me is Patrick Soukup. Patrick, why don't you tell everybody the elevator pitch for the Fort Collins Fellows and what they're going to see?
If you're coming to listen to the Fort Collins Fellows, you're coming to get all the information necessary and needed to live the best life possible in Fort Collins, Colorado. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Well, first, Patrick, Rachel, this is our final episode of 2022. Patrick, season 1 in the books, buddy. Excited?
Yeah, that was great. It was a great year. A lot of great guests, honestly, for this first season. So I'm stoked. I'm curious how season 2 will go.
I know. Well, for those of you just turning in, we have Rachel Pastor. Did I say that last name right?
Yeah, you made it fancy. It's Pastor, okay. But you
Pastor.
Go ahead.
I like Pastor.
Yeah,
a little European flavor, Pastor. So Rachel, thanks for coming on. My wife, actually, Chelsea, was the one who's like, you got to reach out to Rachel. She'd be amazing for this episode. And, this is our last episode of the year. We're all about getting ready for 2023. I think we could all agree that the last 2 years have been long and stressful, I think, for most people. But Rachel, just looking at your bio, you're currently the owner and founder of Transformation Experience. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
You're a health and fitness coach. You were the founder of the Fort Collins Fitness Festival. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
So listen, first of all, thank you to Fort Collins Fellows. Thanks for joining us. And I think the first place to start is just how you got involved in this. I mean, you've been doing this now for 14 years, it sounds like, or maybe longer. I love the background on it. And, reading your bio on your website, I mean, it sounds like you've had you've been through some struggles in the past. And so you've learned a lot from that, it sounds like. And I love just for you to set the stage, what you're doing, and then we'll go into what you're doing right now. And we'll have some great tips for all of our listeners for next year to get you ready, mentally and physically ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm loving what we're going to talk about today. So much to say. So I'm excited to see where the conversation goes. I am from Fort Collins. I am born and raised. I've lived other places, but ultimately I went to the same high school my parents went to. They graduated from Pooter. I went to Pooter. And I've moved away just like anybody that grows up somewhere. They're like, I can't wait to get the heck out of there.
Same
and
here.
I did.
I went to California.
Yes. Yeah, I did. Because I wanted to experience new places, new things. Ultimately, what I realized is, we live in a pretty cool place. We live in a really cool place, actually. So decided to just really raise my family here. And so what got me into the health and fitness industry was my own transformation. And that really was my first time that I really decided to, I was gone. I left Fort Collins and I was gone for quite a long time. Went through a transformation of, I ultimately really got really heavy into drug usage when I was 15 years old. And, I always think I love to hear people's stories because you just truly don't know what they have been through. And yeah, as a girl, growing up here in Fort Collins, I actually became a heroin addict when I was 15 here. And that continued on until I was 20 years old. And it was something that we'll talk about today is habits and behaviors. And what's interesting about life is that you could be in something completely miserable. You can feel so miserable, but you'll continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. And that's just ultimately how we operate. And so that was me. I just lived into that life for a really long time. But as I was going through my transformation, I really came to a place in my life. It was like either death or change. There's a Whole Foods here in town. I've been the girl standing at the corner begging for money. I've lived on the streets. I've really lived that life. And it really was it. It was my time to change. And I had tried to change many times in my life, but I ended up getting on a plane to Hawaii. I packed everything I had in a backpack. I got on a plane. I went there and I told myself when I got off the plane, I would never use again. I lived there for many years. Just completely relearning life and relearning who I was. And when I was there, somebody introduced me to fitness. They asked me if I wanted to go to the gym and they wanted to lose weight. And so they asked me if I'd go walk on a treadmill with them. And ultimately, the truth is I thought, who the heck wants to go to the gym and work out? Like, people actually do this.
It's a big industry, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, turns out it is. So they invited me just to go hang out and go talk to them when they were on the treadmill. And I had never had healthy relationships before. I'd never really had healthy conversations. And so when we went, it just was like, I couldn't wait to go back again. And I didn't really realize what was happening at the same time as I was moving my body and endorphins were happening and I was starting to feel really good. And I kept going back and I went to a cycling class. And when I went to that cycling class, I remember sitting on that bike thinking, what the heck am I doing here? The instructor turns down the lights, turns up the music. Within the first minute, my butt hurt so bad. I wanted to get the heck out of there. And I was like, but everybody was just, the music was going and everybody was hooting and hollering. And it was just amazing. I could feel the energy just running through me. And I left there, I got in my car, I was driving and I thought, whatever this is, I felt like I found the pill, the magic pill that everybody had been searching for. I was like, you guys, I just found it. Like I was just on cloud nine. And, all I really knew was hurt people. I knew people that were really struggling in life. And so it became my mission in life to bring this joy that I had found, to bring it to other people. And that's what I did. I moved back to Colorado. I went back to school. I started working in the gym at the front desk, and I started teaching cycling classes, and I became a personal trainer. Then I opened my own gym. Shortly after that, I started to work for Chris and Heidi Powell from Extreme Weight Loss Edition and on ABC. And we helped thousands of people around the world. It was incredible. And that really introduced me to the online industry of fitness and nutrition. And so I started my own online company. And at the same time, I started Fort Collins Fitness Festival, because the stadium had just been built the year that I started.
What year was that? Did you start Fort
So
Collins?
2017 is when I started to work on the festival. The stadium had just been built, and I thought, I'm a visionary. I love to do big things. And when they built that stadium, I thought, all right, finally, Fort Collins has something for me to host, something to impact the masses. And it was just, the stadium is beautiful. It's incredible. I rented out the whole entire stadium and all the streets around it. And I went around and I just started telling everybody my vision. Well, it turns out everybody who works in the health and fitness industry has the same vision, and that's to impact people in the same way, And so when I told them my vision, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for them to join me. I had over 150 businesses join me that first year, where I filled the whole entire concourse and the streets around it. And I invited everybody to join the festival. I did the festival up until this past year.
I mean, this is like, just kind of step back. You were homeless, a heroin addict.
Mm-hmm.
You moved to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
You discovered fitness and you created the Fort Collins Film Festival. We're going to go into other things. I mean, Rachel, damn, that's crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm a true believer that we can do anything we put our mind to. I believe the only thing that holds us back is our own beliefs. And I've been able to truly come to that through experiencing it myself. And I know that you two probably very much believe that, and on your own journeys as well.
That's amazing. That's crazy. All right, I'm motivated now.
So you ran it up to a year ago. What did you sell? What did you sell? I guess you'd say servicing rights to it, the business plan, or just kind of, did it shut down?
So I am working on transferring it to somebody else right now. I've been looking for the right candidates to do that. It turns out it's pretty hard to find somebody who wants to run a massive festival that takes, year-round employment to to put on. But I do believe that the right person is out there. We built an incredible structure around it. And, Fort Collins is the place to do it, really. This is such a community-driven town. It just is. I always tell somebody when they start a business here, because now I'll work with a lot of other entrepreneurs, is you want to make it in Fort Collins, get in the community. Get in the community. If you don't, you're going to have a really, really, really hard time. So, I do think that the right person is out there in the community.
Well, and Fort Collins is like really focused on, lifestyle design and health and fitness and getting out there, getting outside. And, the majority of people who move here to Northern Colorado, that's probably that's either one or 1A of their desires to be here is lifestyle and being healthy, whether that's somebody coming from New Jersey that, their family just sits around and watches Netflix all day. And they're like, I just don't want to do this for the next 30 years. I want to get out where other people are getting out. So, I'm sure Fort Collins also supports that just based off of the personnel that are around here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you've lived here for so long and, you just think that's how everybody lives. Like people are just, they're so active. And my sister actually lives in Georgia and she's like, girl, that ain't how it is. She's like,
yeah. And we have just this amazing climate too, like Georgia, clients that moved there from Georgia, they're like, you can't even go outside. It's too hot. There's bugs everywhere. I get sweaty as soon as I step out of the shower. So, it is funny because my perspective's same, you guys at least got out. I'm like this, I guess, crippled bird that never flew out because I never got out of Fort Collins. And so I've stuck around here. So my perspective is pretty limited compared to what you guys have.
Well, it's funny. So my wife's pregnant right now. She's 35 and our doctor's like, listen, you're in phenomenal shape. At Chelsea, my wife, she runs and she swims. She's doing all this. She goes, when I lived in Illinois, or she was back in Illinois, she goes, I saw 22-year-olds that were in way worse shape than you. And she goes, she sees a lot of very healthy women, even older women having babies in Fort Collins specifically. And just the overall, the culture and the environment it just makes it really easy. And just kind of a lot of people are active. So no, you're right. We're in a lucky place.
Is Chelsea a geriatric pregnancy?
Yeah, 35.
My wife had a geriatric pregnancy, and I'm just like, she's like 2-time Olympian. I'm like, you're talking to the wrong person. But it's
Rachel, you should know that Patrick's wife, she is a Olympic medalist.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to think I was athletic until I met her.
Yeah.
But okay, so we'll be in the second week of December. People are, like myself, I can guarantee you I will have overeaten, indulged, gluttonous, whatever you want to call it, since Thanksgiving. But I personally, I'm a huge goal setter, love fitness, love the mental side of things. But, and right after Christmas is pretty much when I've got 3 days of leftovers and then we're going to start this journey back of healthy living. So I'm sure you have this conversation with a lot of people, maybe at all different times of the year, obviously, I'm sure, but that are starting this journey of, I want to get healthy. I want to be both mentally and physically. Where do you begin that conversation with people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll say that you can't go wrong as long as you're taking one step forward to do that. And so I feel like there's a lot of things in the fitness industry and the health industry of do it this way and do it that way. And I'm really of the believer of do something. And so as people start to think about that, something that I would encourage you to first think about is, where are you at right now? And meeting yourself there, because ultimately what a lot of people try to do is they try to, if you hire a personal trainer or you join something, I think that's great. But if you're starting at ground zero and you're trying to step to ground 100 or 10, and you have all these steps to get there, maybe you'll do that for a little while, but ultimately you're not going to end up sticking with it. So what is going to be your best plan of action because what do we want? Do we really want to go into the new year and do something for a month, or do you want to make 2023 an incredible year for the whole entire year, right? Where are you going to see the best results? And ultimately what we all know is that it's going to be over a long period of time. And so that really comes with, if you understand where you're at right now, okay, if you're already working out a couple times a week, what can you do to improve on that? If you're not working out at all right now, then what is the next step and where do you go from there? And I think that we have probably a lot of different, even just on this call, it sounds like Patrick, it sounds like you are a lot into fitness. Am I correct around that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This would be a good like barometer because I am not into fitness nearly as much as Patrick is. And so Rachel, trust me, my wife's been all over me. She's like, you got to get back in there. And we have like a little home gym. I have no excuse not to do this. So I literally started the other day. I hate lifting weights. I've always hated going to the gym. I've never done it. But I was like, all right, let me try something different. And I used to I got into running for a little while and that was fun. I still like to do that. But about 2 weeks ago, I'll wake up, I'll do a little bit of weightlifting, like nothing to the point where I'm like, to your point, it's like, I don't want to get burnt out, do this for 2 months and go, hey, that was a good run and then be done with it. So I do that. And then I literally get on the treadmill and I walk and I take the incline to like 10 and I'll walk for a half an hour and I will build up. I mean, my heart will be pounding by the end of the half hour, but I don't feel like it's something that I dread. Like that's the biggest thing for a lot of people. It's like, I know the endorphins are going to be great and it's going to feel wonderful, but just getting started and getting out of bed for me, at least, but knowing I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a little bit of weightlifting and then I'm going to walk on a treadmill for a half hour. I love it. And it's like, I've never done anything like this. So I'm trying to change up, to your point, trying to find something that works for me that I can do for a long, long time. So that's my new fitness routine, I guess you could say.
Can I ask you some questions around that? Because what I know is that majority of people who listen to this podcast are going to relate to you.
Yeah.
So why do you not enjoy to lift weights, or kind of what's kind of pulling you against it?
I got into running a while back because I love running because I would this sounds really weird, but I would be sweating and I would feel like I'm working out and like I saw like results through like sweating. When I used to go work out and lift weights, I would like lift weights, get tired, and I feel like I didn't get a workout. Like I would never get, like people that go to the gym and like lift weights and do all this stuff and then they're just drenched in sweat. I don't understand that. Like either I'm just lazy and I should be lifting more weights or I don't know what it is. So I like the cardio part of it more because I feel like, I'm sweating and I'm working out. Lifting weights, I've always just struggled to feel like I'm getting somewhere with that. If that makes any sense.
Right. So it doesn't bring you the same feelings that cardio brings you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question would be, what drives you to even work out at all?
I have a baby coming in about 5 weeks. That's one of them. But
okay.
I would say that the one thing that's driving me now is I'm getting older. We do have a baby coming and I want to make sure I'm healthy and I'm around as long as possible. My mom has got some health issues right now. So there's like family things I think as I've gotten older, I'm like, all of a sudden, time goes by really fast. I don't know. You kind of have like, not a midlife crisis, but I'm like, all right, I gotta it's like, just do something small. Like if I did this every day for the rest of my life or like 5 days a week oh my God, the results would be incredible. And you hear all those analogies about, just take a little step and, you'll get to the end of the road. But that's kind of my motivation around it.
Yeah. Okay. I have two things on there. So thank you so much for sharing that. Cause I have two things on there. One is going to be around small changes over time.
Yeah.
And how I've helped people lose hundreds of pounds in just taking small changes over time. But the other thing is around how you're motivated and really understanding yourself, how you are motivated. So what I heard from you is some of us are away from motivation or towards motivation. Okay. So when you're away from motivated around something, usually what's driving you is some type of pain. And that's really what I'm hearing from you. So you're more driven from everything you said. I'm getting older.
Yeah.
It's like these thoughts of health. Like that something could go wrong or, that it's
mortality is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's more from a painful place. We're all wired like this for everything we do in different ways, away from and towards. So how towards motivated is going to be somebody who they're going to work out because they're more getting the pleasure from it. And that's their drive to do it. It's from the pleasure aspect of it. And so as soon as you understand that, then you know exactly how you're going to be motivated And if you're not typically somebody who's motivated, like away from motivation, is, again, we are all like this around different things. Most people actually are away from motivated around working out and fitness. Okay. So they only want to work out when they're about to go on a vacation and they know they have to put on a swimsuit. So they're like, right. And that's super duper painful, right? I don't want to put on a swimsuit because painful. So I'm going to work out super hard right now to lose all this weight. And then they go on the vacation and then they don't work out again. Right. That's going to happen again at the beginning of the year. Is people are like, okay, I'm coming on a new year. Life is already moving along. I'm tired of feeling this way. Pain. And they're motivated in that way. Then they're going to start to see some results and they're going to start to feel better. And then all of a sudden they're not motivated anymore. Okay. Then Guilty. They stop doing it.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. I get it. I absolutely get it. And so how do you create that shift? Well, there's a couple ways. And one is creating that shift in your subconscious mind of how do you now find pleasure in what you're doing? And so it's constantly anchoring into what is the pleasure that you do get from working out instead of allowing the pain to drive you.
Is that something like when after you work out, you feel good? Like I feel great, it's, like the endorphins. Is that what you mean by, is that like the pleasure part of it? Okay.
Yeah. So there's so many pleasure pieces to it for people, but yes, endorphins are absolutely one of those. For me, it's the clearing of my mind. Like there's nothing else like that for me to be able to just, clear my mind. Also, the way that my body feels and looks is also a pleasure thing, right? But not from a pain aspect. I'm not going as like, I'm going on vacation and my body has to look this way, but more from a place of like, this is what I enjoy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And like, Patrick, I'm curious your take on it, because, I'm probably more the norm, like Rachel said, but what is your drive on all this? Or
I was talking with a couple, employees, and they kind of joke with me because like both working and working out are same for me. I'm not sure why, but like it's harder for me not to work out. Like today I actually didn't work out, and it's the first time in I think like 20 days that I have not worked out. And I usually take one day a week, but it's harder for me not to work out than it is to work out for those reasons. Yeah, there's some aesthetic looks that I like the way my body looks and feels. There is the strength side of things. Like I was telling Rachel, I was like, I intentionally put on, 20 pounds over the last like 3-4 months, and I'm as strong as I've ever been. And I like to see those gains, right? Like kind of like what you were saying as far as the sweat, the feel with that. Like when I put on like even like a little 2.5 extra plate on each side, and I'm tracking it on my notes, and I see, okay, last week I did 235 and this week I did 240. Like, it's just like almost like kind of like the same thing like with life, right? It's like it's like a sale and you close a sale. It's like you put on a little extra weight. So there's some, I would say some really great satisfaction in seeing progression. And same thing with work. Now there is, I will say, I think, Rachel, I saw one of your Instagram posts that you guys like went like on like this like trip, and it like you guys got away, and I'm like, I need to be better at that. Like I need to be okay with like taking a break and okay with not working and just completely backing
right up. Well, and the one thing you brought up, and Rachel, I was going to ask is like, so you have a journal, Patrick? You write down your workouts and everything?
On my notes, yeah.
On your notes? Mm-hmm. So I have like, right over here, I have like my affirmations and gratitudes that I do for when I get into the office. But like, I feel if I get a little notepad down in my gym and just write down like, okay, today I felt tired, but I end up doing it. And like, if I log it and write it down, for me personally, I know I have a better chance of continuing and I'm more invested in it. Like, Rachel, what are your thoughts on writing things down and logging stuff? I mean, it's got to help, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially if that does motivate you in the progression and seeing the progression of things, right? Okay. Just like, it's like, being able to see how much you are able to lift more than you did last time, and being able to really see that progress. If that is not something that motivates you, well, what that is not pain driven, right? So what
Not
about the
pain-driven.
experience does motivate you?
Yeah.
But really starting to create those shifts when you are working out and being in total awareness of it. Because the truth is that most people just aren't in awareness. They don't understand why they can't stick with working out. And so ultimately, if you're not in awareness, you have no idea how to create the shifts in your mind. And so the first thing that I would do is, if you totally related to this and you're like, yes, I have such a hard time sticking with it, I am driven in this way. Now you're in awareness, and now you can start to think, what are the things that really feel so good when I work out, and really start to anchor into those over and over and over again when you're working out, and start to create that shift in your mind. Because that's all it is. Okay. That is purely all it is that somewhere along the line, you anchored into a feeling of pain around doing it and doing it from that place. And so you just keep living in that feedback loop over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Boom. Now you're in awareness. You created a new neural pathway, and you're going to continue to build off that now, as long as you continue to think about it. Like if the notepad works for you, do that. Yeah. Feel really good around it and continue to anchor into that, really, whatever it is that feels good in that area.
I'd like to welcome everybody to my own personal health and fitness seminar here with Rachel. This has been great.
Well, okay. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you then. And maybe this is it's like on the same path of everything, but it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah. I
am not about to give this up, but I know I probably should, maybe a little bit of it at least. And that is
finish mine.
Caffeine. And so if somebody was wanting to take not to add, right? Because it's always easy to maybe add, maybe sometimes we need to look at what we should remove or subtract. And I would say probably drink a little bit too much caffeine on a daily basis. And I know that for me, it is at this point, like the effects would be worse if I took it out, just because of like headache rather than the positive. I don't feel the jolts besides pre-workout. Love my pre-workout. But I don't feel the jolts like from a cup of coffee. It's just, I have whether it's an oral fixation or need something in my hand, or like it gets me in the work zone, whatever that might be, definitely probably could do with a little bit less.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing I would say around that is, I believe in everything in moderation. I believe that when we try to cut anything out completely, especially if it's something we enjoy, because I imagine you actually do enjoy drinking it. And so when we do that, ultimately we start, we feel like then we want it even more, right? So I think this is like such a great question, because that's going to be such a big thing for people on their health and fitness journey, is that they are doing a lot of something, whether it be drinking caffeine, drinking alcohol, or eating a ton of sugar.
I got 2 out of 3 of those. Shit. Sugar and caffeine.
Check.
I really truly believe the worst thing anybody can do is starting something that takes you, if you're doing something and you actually enjoy doing it, like having a glass of wine or drinking your cup of coffee, and then you start something at the beginning of the year, or having a carbohydrate, and you start something at the beginning of the year that literally tells you are not allowed to have carbohydrates anymore, you are going to have a really, really hard time sticking with that. Right. Mm-hmm. So what's a healthy way to do that? And so we're going to go through this, through the caffeine. And my suggestion would be, and I love like how you explained it, because ultimately how you explain that is that it's like, you're more probably addicted to the act of doing it, and not so much to, obviously your body's liking the caffeine, but you also are more to the, the ritual around it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so my suggestion around that would be, so this is so funny that you bring this up, because I actually was drinking a lot of caffeine, and what I ended up doing is replacing it with a mud drink. It's called mud water. And I ended up replacing
it.
Bald
like me, I think.
What?
I think I saw that guy on Instagram. He's like bald like me.
Mud water.
And it's, I'm really into all of the benefits of mushrooms. So doing that, I mixed it with I'm using the oat milk, mixed it with some oat milk, added some sugar, added some cinnamon and some cayenne pepper, get it nice and warm. It has a teeny bit of caffeine in it, the one that I use, very small amount. it really has helped me taper off utilizing caffeine so much, which ultimately I had been using caffeine for so long and I've done so much of it. I didn't even know what my nervous system responded or was like without it. And so it's been so wild to see how I am without caffeine. So just to say that if you are interested in doing that, it would be finding an alternative to fill in its place and trying it that way.
Rachel, are you I follow like Bert Kreischer and Joe Rogan, all these guys, and they do sober October. So they had no drugs, no alcohol or anything. And I tell it to my wife and she just rolls her eyes. She hates those. She's like, I hate that because then when you come back in November 1st, you're just going to get wasted, So she's like, she's all about like, it goes back to your moderation point. Like,
Yeah.
are you a believer in stuff like that? When people are like, I'm taking off the whole month and I'm not going to do anything. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm a true believer in moderation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen myself and others have the best results and going and continuing the conversation around, okay, how people move forward and seeing results over a long period of time. Moderation, it plays a piece in that, but then also small steps, right? Small steps over time amount to massive changes compared to huge steps and then completely quitting. So
one of the things I kind of like about the 30 days, I mean, this is one of my favorite books, Rachel. I'm not sure. Have you ever read Compound Effect by Darren Hardy?
I haven't read that one.
I made my company read it. It's one of my favorite books. But one of the things I do like about the 30 days is it tests your like addictiveness, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, to whatever activity it is. It's like, does that activity control you or do you control that activity? And if you can't take away from it for 30 days, maybe you should consider like stronger steps. But if you can do it in 30 days, like, all right, I'm good. I still have control over this. Like,
Compound Effect.
I don't know.
I think that's great. The reason is because most people are, again, they're not in awareness. Most people are just continuing to live into their life over and over and over again with no awareness around what they're actually addicted to and why they're addicted to it. So if stopping something or looking at that for 30 days helps somebody be like, ow, I have, then that's great. That's great. I guess then there's two sides to that for sure. Like there is everything. So I definitely could see that. I mean, I don't think that most of us realize how addicted we are to so many things.
This thing right here, it's horrible. There's my dog.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
Okay, question. Honest time for each one of us. Pull that out. What is your weekly screen time, Chris?
How do I find it?
Yeah, how do you find that?
You go to settings. This is gonna make me sick. I've been working on this for the last 3 weeks.
This is gonna be depressing, Patrick. God dang it.
I produce all my business off of my phone. So my average last week was 5 hours and 24 minutes, but that was down 13%. Probably about 4 weeks ago, I was like up to like 6.5 hours, which is just like, I'm about to break this phone.
All right, I'm next. I'm 5 hours, 8 minutes.
Okay.
That is so depressing.
Yeah. So I have
Rachel, you don't need to say anything.
So I'm at 6 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, I
was there.
All right.
Yeah.
But we're all right there.
Man,
yeah. This is like every time my husband is like, you're on your phone again. I'm like, dude, I can, this is my business.
This is exactly 100%.
Like,
and scrolling on Instagram for 20 minutes is business, right?
I got a book shout out to Patrick. You talk about I had to pull it out. I read it last year. Atomic Habits. Rachel, have you ever read that one?
Oh, absolutely. That's a game changer.
Yeah. I love that one. So anybody out there, Atomic Habits, that is so good. Next question for you. You mentioned mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado just passed the psychedelic. I'm not sure exactly what the law, the terminology was, but basically, medical mushrooms and psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any opinions on if that helps weight loss? I mean, there's a lot of studies out there that show from PTSD to, alcoholism and things like that. What are your thoughts on that and how that affects the mental, physical, I guess, journey?
Yeah, I would say it's about time. It's about time. obviously huge into reprogramming the mind.
Mhm.
And I've studied extensively into what psychedelics do inside of people's minds. And also, I have a husband who was in the military for 6 years. He was a police officer after that, PTSD, all of those areas, trauma.
Yeah.
But even to working with people and entrepreneurs, people who are looking to expand their mind into creativity, into being more focused. So, it essentially creates out new neural pathways, and the studies behind it doing that, and you being able to, it's exactly what I keep talking about, is people living in the same feedback loops over and over and over again. You create the new neural pathways. That's how people are able to create something new in their lives, a new perspective, a new belief. And so psychedelics do that, mushrooms do that. And ultimately, I believe it's over 80% of Americans are on prescription drugs. And so, I'm a big believer in alternative health for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had thyroid cancer years ago, and I remember I could have gotten every painkiller drug I ever wanted. I mean, it's just easy. I got cancer. I'll write you this. And full disclosure, I mean, I would smoke weed, and every doctor was like, Chris, if that makes you feel better, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell you it's going to do this or that. I mean, these are smart doctors. And they were like, at the end of the day, and I got to know friends, they became friends of mine. And they're like, I mean, honestly, it's probably healthier than getting addicted to these painkillers and a lot of these other things. And so, no, I think I'm agree with you. I think it's about time. I was with somebody last night having dinner, and, I would never thought they would even like support anything like this. And they're just like, oh yeah, I voted for that. Yeah. I think that's a good thing. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was actually just talking to my dad about it. And, he's like, man, are there a lot of people out there doing this? Like, how is this even? And I said, Dad, more people are out there doing it than it's like Fight Club. It's like, about Fight Club. You just don't talk about Fight Club.
Gosh, I've smoked marijuana, never done any type of psychedelic, and terrifies me because when I have smoked marijuana, the high that it gave me, I was like, I don't like this. I'm freaking out. How do I get off this? Oh my gosh, it's an edible and it's going to be my system for 8 hours. This is a nightmare. and so I have stayed so far, so clear, but it is interesting because I know that there's now in office sessions where you're observed and you're helped along whatever path you're trying to find. And so, yeah, I think there's probably a lot of ignorance including myself, as far as how and what it looks like where education will be really interesting over the next few years for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's the unknown for a lot of people, just like you were just talking about. It's like, how is that going to feel? What does that actually do? But yeah, I'm really excited to see it unfold over the next couple of years, because it's not anything new, but it is becoming more mainstream. And so as it becomes more mainstream, that is when people will start to learn about the other aspects of it and how that really works. And hopefully is an avenue, just like you talked about, to, if it is going to help somebody, that it is there for that. Right. So.
Well, this is a good segue. I've been dreading saying this. I'm going to try to get out. Neuro-linguistic programming. Did I get that right? Neuro-linguistic? Yeah. Oh, we'll just go by NLP for the rest of the episode. NLP. I know you're big into that. And I actually read an article on Yahoo Life I found where they featured you, which was really cool. Talk to us about what NLP is.
So neuro-linguistic programming. And it really is, to keep it super duper simple, it is reprogramming and rewiring of the subconscious mind. So we all live 90% of our lives in our subconscious mind. And it's kind of like, I can explain it in this way. When you learn to drive a car, you're actively learning it, right? You're actively learning how to do it. So you're having somebody teach you and instruct you, and you're listening around that. You might even read through the owner's manual to see how everything operates, right? But after you learn, do you get back in your car every time before you're about to drive and pull out your manual on how to do it?
Of course not.
No.
Right.
because then it shifts into the subconscious mind and you continue to do it over and over and over again. And so that is how our brains work. That's just how that's how humans work. And we do that essentially to save energy. We do it to keep ourselves safe, to protect ourselves. And so ultimately what ends up happening, and I want to say this to everything in life, but because we're talking about health and fitness, is really thinking about right now, why are you making the decisions that you're making around going to the gym or not going to the gym, or around eating what you're eating, or, not, eating certain things? Or why do you lose a whole bunch of weight and then gain it all back, right? Or not able to lose it at all? And it really comes all into what you're programmed into. And so as long as you're continuing to live in those same programs over and over and over again, if you think about it, we have a whole piece of pie and we're all only living into a very small sliver of it, but we actually have the opportunity to live in the whole entire pie, right? It's when you become into an awareness, when you start to see other perspectives, when you start to see things and experience things in different ways, you start to open up to more of the pie. And so that's neuro-linguistic programming, is me helping people see the whole rest of the pie, me helping them understand and come into an awareness of why they're experiencing life in the way that they're experiencing it, and really unfolding that. And so that they can ultimately create those changes in their subconscious mind, anchor into something new, and create that new reality.
Right.
So yeah. So I don't want to leave this, because I really do feel like this will be the most beneficial for people at the beginning of the year in stepping into this health and fitness journey, or getting going again, or whatever it is create. And you mentioned atomic habits, because that's exactly what it is. It's compounding, and it's building on top of your habits and building from that way. So instead of going 0 to 100, why don't you start, if you're not working out at all, why don't you start with working out like 2 times a week and build from there? Go 2 times a week and then make that your habit, right? You're creating a new neural pathway, and you build out that new neural pathway by anchoring into it over and over and over again. It's stacking the anchor over and over and over again. So you go work out 2 times a week, then you're now working off of that pathway. Now add another time in a week. Now you're going 3 times a week. Okay. Then add another time. Then at the end of 2023, you're working out 5 to 6 days a week, and you're sticking with it. Boom. What a game changer in life that would be. Instead of starting out, going 0 to 100 and giving up at the end of January.
Instead of doing 5 days a week. All right, I'm going to go to the gym on Monday.
If you're not working out at all, going 5 days a week, that's going to be really, really hard to do. And ultimately, I would ask you, and being able to, if you're sitting there being like, well, let me ask you this question. Have you stuck with it? Because I'm going to guarantee, if you're going 0 to 5 days a week, you have been giving up and starting again over and over and over again, which means it's not working. So you need to try something new.
Patrick, what is your wife? What's her? I mean, she's an Olympic athlete and mother of 3. How does she's got to be.
Well, actually, that was going to be a question that I was going to ask Rachel too, because Rachel, you have a family. How many kids do you have?
2.
2 kids. Okay. And so it's just part of our lifestyle that we're, I'm a big believer in, people become kind of like what they see, as well as what they're taught, of course. And why I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work is because that's what I saw my dad do when I was growing up. And so we go to the gym. She works 3 days a week as an occupational therapist, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then she'll go to the gym Thursday, Friday, and then we go to the gym as a family Saturday and Sunday. And she'd like to go probably more, just because more of for us, it's like that's where I get all of my stress relieved, is at the gym. But yeah, it's just such a part of our life that we feel worse now not doing it than if we did do it. And for her, yes, it's very important for us. And so I'll even take off work if she's busy or whatever, to come watch the kids for a couple hours so that she can go hit the gym.
Yeah.
What about sorry, Rachel, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just gonna, with my wife being pregnant, like, pregnancy and postpartum. Any thoughts on that? And how people use, whether it's exercise or diet, to kind of get through those times?
Yeah. So I would say she's working out right now.
Oh my God, she's going to she's swimming right now. I think she was at the she's got her big bathing suit she puts on. I mean, she probably
She's
works
got
out.
a big bathing suit she puts on.
Hey,
I can't wait to.
if she's, I don't know. Oh, wait, Chelsea, turn it off right now. We'll just edit that part out.
First pregnancy. Welcome to the show to putting your foot in your mouth.
Anybody know a good divorce lawyer? Anybody know a good divorce lawyer?
Oh man, I love it. Well, first of all, the fact that she's working out throughout her pregnancy, she's going to be able to bounce right back. And I'm sure that you've seen that in your wife of when you stay active, it's a lot easier for you. And that's true through anything. Yes, pregnancy, but also just in general. When you stay active, it's a lot easier to step back into something or stack on top of it, right?
Right.
It's harder when you completely stop everything. And so she's probably going to have a easier time doing that. But, I always say just having so much compassion with yourself and allowing yourself the opportunity to, that's what I had to tell myself is like, I had continually had to tell myself, wow, I just birthed a human. Like, let's just, it's okay if I spend the next 6 weeks just being, I'm also producing all of this human that I just birthed mills. So I'm okay. I'm okay. And then after that 6 weeks, starting off slow again and stacking up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had our last birthing class last night, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
So Rachel, it sounds like you would be a person that somebody would want to reach out to if maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if maybe they've tried themselves, like they've tried doing it on their own, like they've started the 5 days a week, quit, and any area of their life, whether it's business, they started a new project and then gave up. But it sounds like you'd be a great person of let's look at this from an alternative perspective rather than 0 to 100 and make lifestyle design changes by way of, coming and talking with me and, using different tools, methodologies, and experience. Is that kind of the case that you would say, not I wouldn't say rock bottom by any means, but just somebody who's saying I want to be serious about this and I need help?
Yeah, I think that's true to a point for sure. I would say most people that I'm working with right now are actually high-level entrepreneurs here's the thing. We all have limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. We all have programming that keeps us stuck, right? Mm-hmm. And so even to programming of believing that the only way to be successful is to hustle hard, right? Yeah. I actually believe that you can be extremely successful in allowing yourself, in taking the vacations and allowing yourself time to step back and just be going to the gym and allowing yourself to do that instead of it being like this. I'm kind of like the pulling people away from the hustle culture, because ultimately I really believe that's just programming. And so what I'm seeing from a lot of people right now is they've been hustling for so many years that they're really programmed into that. And it's okay, I want to still guilty. I still want to, I totally understand it. I really do, because I lived in that for so long. I mean, nobody hustled harder than me, I thought, and I was going 90, but it came to a point where ultimately I just wasn't feeling that great. I was enjoying a lot of the fruits of my labor, but in other aspects just wasn't totally feeling like I was living life in the way that I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so how do you get people to a place where they still are straight up crushing it, but not, having to live in hustle culture? And again, I really believe that's all through programming, and that's really what I've seen. But to answer your question, I do think that it's for anybody at any place that they're feeling stuck and they want to create something new. So let's create out that new neural pathway and build on it, so that's about it.
Very cool.
Rachel, so as we kind of wrap it up, and we want to respect your time, and you're here in Fort Collins, and this podcast is all about Fort Collins and our community, and you're obviously, and your story is, to say inspirational is an understatement, what you've gone through. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way? And is there anything? I know you got your company and your coaching, you're doing a lot of different things right now, but are there a few things that people can maybe go to your website? I know your website's great, rachelpastor.com, but how can people get in touch with you and learn more about your teachings and potentially reach out and have you help them?
Yeah. So rachelpastor.com is great, or you can just go to Instagram at rachel.pastor. And, ultimately just send me an email, send me a message. I have this text line that I have people just text me through. And it is like one of my favorite things in the world to do, because I send out weekly reprogramming meditations. And then I also send out just like mind shifts, and I send them all through I'll send one a day, and people will grab it at different times in the day. And it's literally to like, boom, they stop and they see the different awareness around that and pulls them out of that loop. And so if anybody would like to join me on there, they can just text join to 970-442-5848.
Very cool.
970-442, was it 58?
5848. Yeah. And it's free. And I literally just do it because I love to help people in this way. So,
and you said, and text the word joy, right? Okay.
Join.
Good. And then you've got Anatomy of Love. That's your podcast that's coming out soon. Is that right?
Yep. Anatomy of Love. That's coming out soon.
Cool. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now we finished episodes with, especially from folks from Fort Collins, with the same question of, now we're getting into some cold weather. We're about to see probably our first good snow of the year tomorrow, but it's the summer, Friday afternoon. It's 75 degrees and warm. Where are you going to sit on a patio and enjoy yourself a beer?
Oh man, the place just slipped my mind, but it's probably going to be a Mexican restaurant. I'm going to go for the margarita and sit on the patio.
Buena Vida?
I love Buena Vida.
Yeah.
I love Buena Vida, but there's this one, it's a taco shop downtown Fort Collins. It's right there where Kinko's used to be. Maybe Kinko's is still there.
Oh, Uno Mas.
Uno Mas. I just love Uno Mas. Like, can they load any more meat on those tacos? I don't think so.
What's your go-to margarita, Rachel?
I'm more of just like I like a classic margarita. So
Perfect.
Just give me the classic, but with all the top shelf in it, for sure.
And bonus question for you, since this is the holidays, it's coming out in December. Favorite side dish meal for Christmas or any holiday that you celebrate?
Side dish. Give me some like an appetizer.
Whatever you want for the holidays.
Yeah, well, I'd probably bring either jalapeno poppers is something that I would probably bring.
Wow.
I like spicy.
We got margaritas and jalapeno poppers.
Okay, so I come from a Hispanic family, so
I love it.
I always tell people I'm related. They actually say this to me. They're like, "You're related to everybody in Fort Collins by one person," because we're Romeros, and like everybody in my family has like 10 kids except for me, and so
Ernie?
Yeah, Ernie's my uncle.
There you go.
Patrick, what was your favorite food? I think I missed that. For
green bean casserole.
Green bean casserole. We have a sweet potato casserole that's ridiculous that Chelsea makes. So.
Okay. That is amazing. You guys are talking Thanksgiving side dishes. Those are amazing.
Oh, my Thanksgiving and Christmas, both the same.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah.
Overindulge.
Well, Rachel, we'll have to have you back on for season 2 next year. I got other questions here, but no, this has been great. Like, thanks so much you're ending our year, season 1, Fort Collins.
Yeah, I feel so honored, and you guys are a ton of fun to talk to. So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, good luck to you in your new year, and wish you all the success, and enjoy this new law that just passed.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you later.
Bye.